Have you ever wondered what are some reasons that VA deems a DBQ, disability benefit questionnaire, and/or C&P exam insufficient? Stick around and I'll share those examples. Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dwayne Kimball, owner and founder of KMD89 VA Claims Consultant, Leave No Vet Behind, and also I'm a United States Army veteran. Today, I'm going to be discussing what are some of the VA's examples that make a disability benefit questionnaire, also known as a DBQ, and/or C&P exam insufficient. I've done videos in the past and even provided training to individuals on what makes a DBQ sufficient. But today, I'm going to be talking about what makes that DBQ and/or C&P exam insufficient. Now, DBQs have been around for a while now, okay? I was a rating specialist, and while I was rating claims at the VA, I can remember when these DBQs came out. And I guarantee you, we were all ecstatic, meaning VA employees, because it was going to make life a lot simpler for veterans in their claims because you have the option of going out to your private examiner, okay? Now, one thing that I want veterans to keep in mind, just because a physician assistant, a nurse practitioner, a psychiatrist, a psychologist completed a DBQ doesn't always make it sufficient, okay? But again, today I'm going to be discussing and showing you some examples that the VA gives in the M21 reference manual that makes a DBQ and/or C&P exam insufficient. So, first slide. Here in today's slide, this is the M21, all right? Now, I didn't copy the entire M21, so as always, I encourage veterans to go out and continue to do that research. Get educated, okay? Insufficient examination reports. A Department of Veterans Affairs examination report submitted to the rating activity, that means the rater, RVSR, okay, must be as complete as possible. Any missing required information on the report makes the examination report insufficient for rating purposes. I'm going to say that again. Any missing required information on the report makes the examination report insufficient for rating purposes. The following are examples of deficiencies that would render an examination report insufficient. Now, let's go back to that previous sentence. Any missing required information on the report makes the examination report insufficient for rating purposes. What does that mean? Now, the rating specialist does not use all of that information on that exam report to grant that particular percentage for the service connected for the condition that you're claiming, all right? If you look at the criteria, let's just take migraines, for example. If you look at the 0, the 10, the 30, and the 50% criteria in the VA's rating schedule under Diagnostic Code 8100, and you look at the DBQ, some information that they're asking for in the DBQ is not in the rating schedule, okay? So that's what that means, required information. Now, on the flip side, if you look at the 0, 10, 30, and 50% for migraines in that DBQ, you will find it on that DBQ itself. But there's some other information that's on the DBQ that is not in that rating schedule, okay? Keep that in mind. So that's what they mean by required information. Now, first example, the examination report is unsigned. If you have a private doctor to complete DBQ, it has to be signed on the last page in the examiner's block at the bottom, okay? They have to sign it. The examination report does not address all disabilities for which the examination was requested. Okay, so if you're submitting that DBQ, make sure it's the correct DBQ for what you're claiming. Don't submit a diabetes DBQ and you're claiming an increase in your back. All right, make sure it's the correct DBQ. And if it is, then it will address all the disabilities. All right. The required questions on the disability benefit questionnaire are unanswered. Okay, there's that word again, required. I already gave an explanation of that. And one thing that I did with my DBQs when I took them to my private doctors, on some DBQs, it'll ask a question and it'll say yes or no. And underneath that, it says, if yes, explain. Now, in the cases where, for me, where the doctor checked no, well, there was no reason to put anything under the explanation if the yes box was checked. But I had to make sure, or I wanted to be sure, to be proactive. So I asked the doctor, put NA or none, because I didn't want that VA employee nitpicking and just trying to find something not to use my sufficient DBQ to rate the claim and say it was insufficient because all the boxes weren't checked, okay? Now, again, this is your DBQ. It's your responsibility to get educated, all right? Next bullet comment, example, the required review of the claims folder was not accomplished. Now, this is by far the main one out of all these examples, especially what I've been seeing with some of our clients, okay? Some of our clients come to us, they have a DBQ and or nexus statement completed. Oh, and by the way, if there's something you need, definitely reach out, schedule a consultation, and we can talk through that, okay, if you're needing a DBQ and or nexus statement. But the required review of claims folder was not accomplished. Also, when I took that DBQ to my doctor, I gave him information from my claims folder. One, I took the whole claims folder in there. He's like, oh, wow, wait a minute, it's too much. What is the required information that I need to see as it pertains to what I'm completing this DBQ for? Oh, it's this, and this, okay? So he can legitimately say he reviewed my claims folder. Now, if I'm going in for an increase for migraines, does the examiner need to see the service treatment record showing a complaint in service for migraines? No, because the veteran is already service connected. So at a minimum, hey, go through there, look at any progress notes for the migraines, and the examiner needs to ensure that you actually are service connected for migraines, okay? Now, if it's for direct service connection, you're claiming it based on treatment, complaint, diagnosis, injury, and service, then yes, definitely want to make sure that examiner reviews those service treatment records. But first, you have to get a copy of it. I'm still seeing veterans that scheduling consultations with me. Dwayne, hey, you have medical professionals that can complete a DBQ and nexus statement. Yep, I don't have my claims folder. You gotta have the claims folder, okay? If not, and you're trying to get a DBQ completed, you're setting yourself up for failure by not having it, okay? In the description section, I list how I got a copy of my claims folder, all right? The report is missing information pertinent to the specific disability under review, such as the impact of musculoskeletal pain on the functional loss of an affected joint. Again, every box needs to be completed on that DBQ, all right? Just to be proactive, even if you don't think it's necessary, then have your doctor put NA and or none, all right? A medical opinion is not properly supported by valid rationale and or the evidence of record. That's number 2 off this list, in my opinion. A lot of veterans don't know what a rationale is. Again, I used to give classes on nexus statements. What information goes into a nexus statement? I even put together a presentation, and in that presentation, I show the attendees that signed up for that training, hey, this is the nexus statement that I completed, that I created, and helped me win my claim. Okay, showed them the format, the information that goes in there, examples of a medical opinion to include the rationale. A lot of veterans miss that, okay? So they're telling you here, the VA is telling you here in this particular M21. And then last, it says a requested medical opinion was not furnished, okay? So you have to understand also, when is a medical opinion needed? Now, the best way I think to answer that, when is one not needed? When you're doing an increase. Okay? Now, if you're doing an increase, let's say in a mental, and service connected for PTSD, but the diagnosis is changed to depression, there's still no medical opinion needed in that case. The doctor just simply has to say, hey, depression, the veteran no longer meets with a diagnosis of PTSD under DSM-5. The veteran now has a diagnosis of major depressive disorder, and it is a progression of the PTSD, all right? So the main two takeaways from this, having that VA claims folder, so when you have that private examiner do that DBQ, they can check that box and say, yes, I reviewed the veteran's claim folder. Number two, ensuring if you need a nexus, ensuring that a rationale supports that medical opinion. Okay, again, like I stated earlier, I used to give classes the previous 2 years on what makes a DBQ and nexus statement sufficient for rating purposes. And for the class for the nexus statements, I gave examples of what rationales look like. So once you receive that from your doctor, you can say, hey, wait a minute, this is missing, that's missing. Can you update it, so they get it correct? So when they return it to you and you give it to the VA, it's not insufficient, okay? So I hope this video was educational and informational. And again, if you're a veteran that needs a DBQ and/or nexus statement, schedule a consultation and we can discuss what options that you have, okay? So with that being said, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and don't forget to share this video with your fellow veterans. Thank you.